والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. Glory be to Allah, all praise to Allah. There is no God but Allah. Allah is great.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to another episode in the series True Peace, The Secret of Life. And we are looking into the world's fastest growing religion and the most sustainable belief system in the world, and that is Islam. In fact, it's not only the world, the whole universe. Everything that ever was created or ever will be created is sustainable only through Islam. How can we make that statement? Islam simply believes and means the one who submits and gives himself freely over to Allah of his own free will. We as human beings have that right to do that. The whole of creation has been created in different states, but all of them will eventually submit or are in a state of submission to Allah. So this is what we are looking at. We're looking for the secret of life. And the secret of life is finding true peace. Don't we all want that? And when we spend dollars, or hundreds of dollars, some of us, trying to find true peace. Some of us try to find true peace through drugs. Some of us try to find true peace through alcohol. Some of us try to find true peace through a guru. Or some of us try to find true peace through books. You know, there's that book called The Secret. That book is the biggest lot of rubbish because you'll never find peace in the book The Secret. It's a money-making racket. If you want to find true peace, if you want to find the secret to success, then you have to look at Islam. Not because I'm saying so, it's because it's the truth. There is something called ultimate truth. Ultimate truth means everything in the entire universe has to agree with that. And I'm giving you a challenge today. I want you to ask your friends, your family, the people who hate Islam, the people who want nothing to do with religion, your atheist friends, your agnostic friends, anyone, ask them to write down, tell them to remove all concepts in their mind. Don't worry what your mother told you, what your father told you, what your priests or rabbis or your guru or anyone else told you. Ask them to write down 10 things that they would want to have a perfect system in the world. But they must be inclusive of the whole of society. In other words, every single belief system in the world will have to agree with this. So they have to be very careful how they word it. They must come up with a system that of 10 things that they would want to life, that they would have to have a perfect system in life. Do you know what will happen? They will give you a piece of paper back when you read it that will be exactly what Islam teaches. If you take it to a Christian, they will go, I don't agree with that, I don't agree with that, I don't agree with that, I don't agree with that. If you take it to a Hindu, you'll go, I don't agree with that, I don't agree with that, I don't agree with that. But if he brings that paper back to you, it'll be all the things that we as Muslims agree. And I've done this social experiment a number of times. It happened by mistake in Germany, and ever since then I've been doing this social experiment throughout the world, and I found that it works every single time. So we're looking at true peace, and true peace can be found only in submission to Allah, and can only be found in practicing submission to Allah. We have been looking in this series at the Islamic framework. The Islamic framework consists of many, many different layers. You know, I wasn't going to use the onion story. Onion has many layers because everybody's using that now. But Islam is like a flower. It's like a rose. If you take one petal off and you look at it, you still identify it as a rose, but it looks so much better together as a rose. And you have it there, it looks so much nicer, so much more beautiful. So if we look at the Islamic framework consists of many, many different petals. It is the hope structure, in other words, the belief, the educational structure, the spiritual structure, the morality, the way we deal with one another, human responsibility, not human rights. Human rights is something that I don't like saying. Human rights is not the same as human responsibility. Then there's the family structure, social structure, the economic structure, and we looked at the political structure, and now we are speaking on the final part of this equation. Remember that this whole series came together with a group of atheists, and it just landed up building up a whole series of lectures. So sometimes we don't have to even do anything. People will get the dawah simply by using their brains, by using common sense. If you and I use common sense, we'll be able to find out who and what truth is. And who is truth? Truth is trusting in Allah. What is truth? Submitting to Allah and following the religion of Islam, or the belief system of Islam. So today we are going to be going on to the next section, which is how to revive and grow. How do we move forward? Now that we know all this, now that we know what makes up and comprises Islam, how do we move forward? And so today we're going to be talking about religion and deen. The religion of Islam and the deen of Islam. And you know, as you've heard many times before, I don't like using that word religion. I prefer to say the word belief, or belief system, and the deen. But if we say that, they almost sound the same, because that's more or less what they mean. But for today, I'm going to use their religion for the first time. So when we look at the word religion, we understand that religion basically is the system of life. The deen is also the system of life of Islam. They both work together. If we have a look, what is the difference between religion? What is the difference between deen? There is a significant difference. That's why often we'll hear people say, the deen of Islam. We don't hear people saying the religion of Islam. Or you hear me say, the belief in Allah, instead of the religion. So what is the meaning of the word religion? The word religion, if we understand it in our common day-to-day life, simply means to believe, to have a pathway to follow, an approach to understanding something, or a method. And if we look at the Christians, one of the groups that broke away from the Catholic Church was a group called the Methodists. And the reason they were called the Methodists is because they were people who followed a method. And so they followed these methods of following religion. So religion can be understood in belief, a pathway, an approach to, or methods. But what is the meaning of deen? The meaning of deen is measuring up the plus and minuses of rewards that we get in life and while we are here. The deen consists of the Sharia, or laws. It is a system of life that takes us from strength to strength, from one stage to the next. And it is obedience. See, it's so much more than just saying religion. Religion is just, I often use this analogy, and I'm sure you've heard me say it a few times over the years, is that religion is almost like dog obedience training. You know, when a policeman, he trains his dog to be a sniffer, to smell out whether they're drugs, or to smell if there's explosives. And the dog does exactly what he's supposed to do. He has no idea why he's doing it. He's just been trained that way. When the policeman blows his whistle, the dog does what it's supposed to do. It really has no clue why it's doing it. When the dog sees somebody and it comes in, it wags its tail, doesn't even know it's wagging its tail. When the person tells it to sit, it sits because it's been conditioned and trained to do that. It doesn't know why it's doing it. It just knows that if I don't do it, I'm going to be in trouble. If I do it, I'm going to get a treat. Where the deen is very, very different. The deen is something more intelligent than religion. The deen of Islam is something where you actually contemplate everything. If somebody says, well, we've always done it this way, that's not good enough. They have to explain to you why. What is the benefits? What are the pluses? What are the minuses? What happens if you don't do it? We have explanations. So in Islam, when we follow the deen of Islam, we measure up the pluses and minuses of things all the time. We look at the Sharia. We ask, is it permissible in the Sharia? You know, oftentimes we want to know, is this something permissible or isn't permissible? We look in the Quran, is it permissible? If we look in the Hadith, is it permissible? We look through the early writings of the early Muslims that were around that. Is it there? No, it's not there. Then we go through the scholars and so on and so on and so on. So we have to go through. We have a system in place, a logical system, almost like we spoke about last time, a political system in place to make sure everything works logically. And then, of course, Islam is the way of obedience. The deen of Islam is obedience. It's obedience to who? Is it obedience to my own nafs, my own desires, my own will? No, it's obedience to the system of Allah, the system of life. The system of life is Islam. Islam is submitting to the will of Allah, of your own free will. So, if we understand religion, religion purely relates to the personal and private life of a person. If we understand religion. You know, people say, that guy is so religious. That's relating to him as an individual person, when we use the word loosely. We're not talking about a collective group of people when we use the word religion, generally speaking. Sometimes we use it out of context, but it's not really that way. We normally say that person is a religious person. He comes from a religious family. We're talking about individuals. When we speak about the deen, we're not speaking as one person. We're talking about a system of life which entails the rules and the regulations for this whole sphere of our human existence and life within a community of believers. So when we speak about the deen, we're not speaking about the individual. We're talking about the system of life, which is the entire system and rules and regulations of that specific belief system. It's much deeper than that. So in this world, in the political system, if we go back, if we do a bit of a recap today, generally in the rest of the world, we have something called democracy. And democracy is a group of legislators or a group of people who elect a cabinet of people, elect an official, elect a person, and they rule by a democracy. The system that we believe in, what we follow, which is the system of Allah. We follow His system. His system is long-lasting. It is a better system to run by. So it is not the same. If we look at religion, many religions in the world were run by the king. For example, if you're a Christian and you're listening today, go to your library, and in fact you should have it in your own home. If you're one of those type of Christians, you should have a copy of the Bible in your home. If you pick it up, you'll see in the King James Version, you open up, it says, in order of the king, or by order of the king. So it was the king who decided the religion of the day. So we're going to take a break, and when we get back from the break, we'll continue, inshallah.
All praise to Allah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is your brother in Islam, Mamdouh Muhammad. You're watching Peace TV, the solution for humanity.
An evil is approaching. A gap has appeared in the barrier of Ya'juj and Ma'juj, like this. This is part of a hadith that was spoken over 1400 years ago. And if it was near then, imagine how near it is now. My name is Muhammad Tim Humble, and in this series we explore the hadith of Sahih Muslim that speak of the trials and tribulations that are to come in the end of days.
Know and understand the signs of the final day to increase your taqwa and protect your iman in end of days. Next on Peace TV.
All praise to Allah.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back. We've been talking about the deen of Islam, and we're looking at how we use these words, deen and religion. And we're coming towards the end of the series. Remember we spoke earlier, they said some countries, they run their religious system, and they run their religious system by having a king. The king almost runs the country, like a pope in a way. But we're not talking about a pope, we're talking about a king. And in Christianity, you had, for example, the Bible, it said, by the order of King James in Islam. This is not the case because we follow the system of Allah. The system of Allah dictates to us what type of system we should have in our societies today. We follow the system of Allah. This is why you will find in Saudi Arabia, for example, who have a king and who follow the system of Allah, that you have a beautiful system running. You can go there and you feel safe. I remember the biggest shock when I went on Hajj is when it was time for prayer. My eyes, I could not believe what I was seeing. It was already late and I couldn't make it to the mosque. And so what we did is we prayed exactly where we were. And where I was in a beautiful big shopping complex, a big mall, shopping mall. And there were security police there. And the time for prayer began. And so what they did is they made an area in the middle of the shopping center. The security police moved a place for everyone to go pray. And everyone moved to the middle of the shopping center. And they took their cloths. The people had jewelry shop. This is a multi-million-dollar shopping complex. So it's not somebody on the side of the street. This is very, very valuable things. A diamond ring, they would cost a few $1,000s. And they would take a cloth and they just pulled their cloth over their counter where all the rings were. And they walked out of the shop, not locking the door, not pulling big security gates down, putting bolts and setting time codes and getting security guards to come and stand there with big guns. And all the shops did that. They don't even have drawers. You know when you have a drawer where you put your money? There was a box. This is a fancy shopping complex. They just threw the money into a box right there. Everyone can see it. And all they went off to pray in the middle of the complex. But there were security guards in the complex. And you know what the security guard's job was? Not to check your shop, not to make sure your money's safe, to make sure everybody's praying properly. This is a country that is run by the system of Allah. A country that fears Allah more than they fear somebody robbing the cart or robbing your shop or taking the money out of the box that you've just left lying there. This is Saudi Arabia who follows Allah. You can have all the criticism you like about. You might not like the political system there. You might not like a lot of things about Saudi Arabia. But I'll tell you one thing I like is the system that they're running by, the system of Allah. They have understood that the deen is more important than religion. That just being religious is not good enough. That you have to actually believe what you are doing. That you have to put your money where your mouth is. I was shocked, stood up from that salah that we were performing there. And my heart was broken and I said, this is the place that I want to live. If a country is like this, this is where I want to stay. I mean, this is what you're talking about. I remember seeing, and I know we're going way off topic here, but I remember there was you have these big vans that come and collect money from your property, from your premises. Say you have a business, and then they have these vans, I don't know what the word is. They come there and they normally have armed guards with a big shotgun, and maybe a guy with a submachine gun, and they have burglar guards all over. The van is normally bulletproof and everything. Not in Saudi Arabia. The guy drives up in his car, comes out, he walks to your business, he carries your box out, he puts it in the back of his car and he drives off. I mean, where do you get that? And this is a country that runs on the system of Allah. Now, some people might be critical and say, yes, that's because they are so strict with their Sharia. Have you seen how strict they are there with Sharia? Go check that country out before making a wild statement like that. I saw those court systems. I went and I sat in. When we were on Hajj, one of the days I went and I sat there where they have these little courts. And they have the princes who come there and they run the court systems. It's brilliant. It's not chaotic. It's simple. One of the men that I spoke to there, in fact, he was from India. He said to me, in India, they have a backlog of years of people coming to, they'd have to have trials. In my own country, it can take you 2-3 years before you have your court case heard. So if you don't have money to pay bail, you will sit in jail for 3 years and still be found not guilty. Then what happens? Does the government say to you, we find you not guilty, I'm terribly sorry, here's money for it? No, they give you nothing. You stay in jail for 3 years even though you are found not guilty. I mean, it's a terrible system, the Western system of law. What did this man tell me from Saudi Arabia? One of the officials that I spoke to, he said, we're in Saudi Arabia, we're having a big problem with our legal system. We've got a 10-day backlog. And I thought, what, 10 days? I mean, the rest of the world, we're sitting with years. And you've got a 10-day. Because they have a system in place which is the system of Allah. And the system of Allah is fair. And you cannot keep somebody in captivity for so long because it's not right. What a wonderful system. What a system that the deen of this religion is built upon. How different it is compared to a dictatorship. How different it is to colonial superpowers. How different it is to democracy. It's real truth in the way that it's supposed to be seen and the way that Allah wants it to be done on planet Earth. So we see there's a big difference between the deen and there's a big difference between just being religious. There's so much more that I can go into dealing with this specific topic. But I want to get onto a point about, the scope of Islam. The scope of Islam is so very important. Islam is about the individual, but it's also about the collective. Islam is about the ideology of life. How do we live this life? It is how we gain spiritual strength in day-to-day living. It's not just something that's far, far away. It's here right now. It's about our morality, how our morals are, how we live our family life. It is also about collective life. So it's about individual. The scope of Islam is about ideology. It's about our spirituality. It's about our morality. It's about our families. And it's about our collective life. Our collective life consists of society. It consists of our economic structures. It consists of our political structures. It consists of our economy. So if we look at the global society that we live in, Islam deals with both of these. Remember that we said that Islam is not just that you're only dealing with the spirit. And it's not just about you're only dealing with human affairs. It consists of all of these things. There is no system in the entire earth. Trust me, I've looked. If I had found it, I would lie to you today. There's no system, no religious system in the world that combines these things so beautifully. The scope of Islam is everything combined together. It's a building block one upon the other. It brings the best of the best together. It is a system that every single human being would want to have in their life to be the complete code of life. It's a code of life which gives you entrance into the truth, the entrance into full accountability for everything that you do in life. It's entrance into suddenly being able to pull back the curtains and see what's going on really behind the scenes. Do yourself a favor and sit tonight. Ask Allah. Say, Allah, I don't know. I have no idea. There's so many religions in the world. It's so confusing. I don't know. I see the one guy saying this, and I see another person saying that. I look at Islam and I see the beauty of Islam. Then I see these Muslims on this side. I look at one Muslim guy and he seems to be on the right track, and another Muslim guy seems to be... I'm so confused. I don't know what to do. There are so many things about Islam that are attractive, and there's other things that I don't know. I want you to do something tonight if you're watching for the first time. Or perhaps you've been watching a few weeks. Perhaps even a Muslim who's having... I want you to ask Allah. Just speak to Him. Just be honest with Him. Don't lie to Allah, because sometimes we lie. We say, oh Allah, I really want you to help me stop smoking, but you have no intention to stop smoking. Oh Allah, I want you to help me stop lusting, and you have no intention. So rather be honest. If you have issues, say, Allah, listen, I have no intention to stop doing this thing that I'm doing wrong. But I want you to help me, because I'm very confused. So be honest and say, listen, I don't even think Islam is for me, but I want you to show me if it is for me. I don't even know if you exist or not, but I want you to help me to see if you do exist or not. And then, don't just be passive and sit there and think that that's the end of the job and that's it. You just, okay, you did hubba dubba do, now it's all going to work out for you. No. Now you must go out and look, because you've asked Allah to open the doors for you. He's going to open doors, but you have to get outside of your front door to see if the doors are open. You can't wait and think that the doors are, some music's going to play and a dove's going to come flying down and a bright light's going to shine all around you. It's not Hollywood. This is reality. In reality, if you ask Allah to open doors for you, you have to go through those doors. So now that you've asked, you've got to go search and go ask people. Look. Look with eyes open and ears open and a mind open and a heart open. So inshallah, I hope that we've had an opportunity to reach through to you and help you to find Islam in the way that I have found Islam. I do not have all the solution. There's many mistakes I've made, I'm sure, in this series. But I'm just showing you from an Areeb Islam perspective what I have found in this beautiful religion of Islam. And I encourage you to seek out today the truth and to find the truth that can only be found in Islam. Jazakallah khair for being with me in this series. So for me, Areeb Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Subhanallah walhamdulillah.